Good afternoon, crypto enthusiasts, and welcome back to our Cryptoeconomics channel on YouTube, where we explain basics of fundamental and technical analysis as the biggest channel for fundamental and technical analysis in Malta. I would advise for you, if you haven't seen our previous videos, especially about technical analysis and the technical analysis course, to see the previous 3 videos where we speak about levels, triangles, and in the last accumulation distribution phase, before you see our last video, what we are going to be talking today, and that is the M and W formations. Now, this is the 4th video of the series. Expect that the next video will be a tryout of all that we have learned so far in the previous 4 videos to practically show how you can actually use technical analysis skills, formations, and indicators on a chart that you obviously cannot see beforehand. It's very easy to find all these formations and indicators on a chart that has already progressed. But what if we can actually cut the chart for the previous 10 years and start fresh to try to use all we have learned so far? So don't miss our next video where we're going to do the tryout for these particular indicators and formations. And don't forget, later on, every 4 videos for some types of formations and indicators, we're going to be doing this type of tryouts for you to be able to see how to train and how to use this for your own practice before you start using it in everyday technical analysis. Now, so far, as we mentioned, we have passed through levels, we have passed through triangle formations and accumulation and distribution phases. Today, we're going to be talking about special formations, which are called the M and W formations. Again, as we mentioned in the previous videos, there is absolutely no magic behind this. There is no magical way of reading the charts except for the psychology behind it. We're always talking about the way the traders and investors are behaving in a certain environment and in certain levels of prices. Same goes here. What we can see is M formation where the price have gone up, retests the same level before going down and continues going down. This is how usually this technical chart is working. And the other way around, when a price goes down and retests the same level twice or maybe sometimes even more times, it's a bigger probability for the price to go up. Now, the basics of the psychology behind it is that when a price reaches a certain level of a price high, obviously we will have several times sellers trying to practically exit the market since they have already wanted to take profit. They have been holding this, let's say, certain capital good for a certain amount of time, and now they want to exit the market. This is what we actually experience with this retest of the same level, where the price goes down because there is a lot more sellers than buyers. And the other way around, when the price has dipped evenly to a certain amount and has made, I would say, a bottom or a local low, it retests that bottom where it finds even more buyers, which are emboldened that the bottom is practically on that level. And obviously, since we have a lot more buyers than sellers, the price goes up. Now, usually these M and W formations are later on confirmed by the middle point of the M and W, where usually the price retests before going one way or the other. Again, there is no formation or indicator that is absolute. There is no 100% chance that something will happen. There is always the probability that this formation will be broken and go the other way around. But again, the idea of technical analysis is the probability that something will happen is higher than something will not happen. So in these cases, if we spot this type of, I would say, formations, it's a lot bigger probability that they will go the way they are going in these 2 sketches. Now, if we take the chart of Bitcoin, as we've seen it over here, we can find a lot of those, I would say, formations. For example, we can find W formation forming on this particular bull market, which was actually determined by the 2 lows of the bear market. So what we can see that once we have managed to do a double bottom on this level here, we can see that the price went upwards and went to a new all-time high, right? So this is the forming of the W formation, and we can see that the price went upwards as expected, right? Now, what did we say, if you remember, about the middle line? Usually, the W formations are actually retesting the middle line of the W before going upwards again. This is how usually it works. Now, the middle line, unfortunately, in this case, is not being retested, but we can see that the price did go down before continuing going upwards, similar to what this sketch was actually alluding to, right? The other way around. But in any case, the probability that the price will go up after forming a W formation have been materialized. The price of Bitcoin went up. If we go the other way around now, what we can see a different formation. In this case, that's the M formation, which was formed in this particular case. Now, what we can see, we're going to make it red, so it's going to be a bit more visible. We have one top correction, a retesting of the previous top in the price goes down. Obviously, similar situation as we mentioned before. The retest of this particular case would have been somewhere here, but obviously the retest, as we can see here, wasn't successful as we can see. This is the M, right? So what did we say? The continuation of this particular formation usually retests the middle part of the M before going down. Over here, we did have a retest, but as we mentioned, not always the formation goes as we expect. So we did retest, it went down, but it didn't go lower than the previous local low. It went upwards afterwards, but doesn't matter. So far, the formation has been successfully completed. Now, these are just two major W and M formations you can find on the maximum, I would say, size on the monthly level time frame for Bitcoin. Let's go down. Let's go, for example, to 1 hour, where we can actually test this a little bit better in formations that we can find everywhere. So it doesn't mean that it has to be on a higher time frame. You can find these formations absolutely everywhere. This is a very good example. So this is a random part of the Bitcoin chart that obviously I'm first time seeing in this particular case. What we can see over here, as we mentioned, we can clearly see forming of a W formation, which has retested and continued upwards. Now, obviously, this will be green. And now let's put this to a test. Look at this. So we can see a school way of a W formation that has formed on these particular two bottoms. Now, more or less, it's going to be something like this, because this is the level. And what do we have? Forming of the W formation, breaking out of the W formation, since this is the previous start of the W formation, a retest almost down to the middle point of the W formation and continue upwards. Exactly school version of the W formation. We can find them everywhere. Now, just for me to find some for you, so you can actually see how it works. For example, here, very easy to spot. We have the other way around. We have an M formation, which have made and retested here before going down. Now, let's make it visible. And we make it red because this is an M formation. What we can see? We can see start of the formation, retest of the higher part of the formation. This is the double top, going downwards, retesting the middle part before starting to go down again. Literally, school way of representing a M formation. Now, the second part of the formation where we retest the middle part of M or W, usually it does happen, but doesn't mean that we're going to see a lower low or a higher high. Not always. But the formation itself, it shows you several things. First, if you have formed double top, the probability of the chart to continue going downwards and make a M formation is very high. The other way around, if we have formed a bottom, as we've seen it over here, right, the probability of the chart continues upwards is a lot higher. Same situation like before. So if we go back to the W formation, same situation. If we have managed to form a double bottom, the formation of the W is a lot more probable and breaking of the previous high, it's very, very much in the game. And this is exactly what happened. So the idea of the W and M formations are exactly that. Gives you a probability that the chart should be expected to go one way or the other. And again, not always, but when you spot them, they're very lucrative and you can use them to your advantage. I will just find several more just for you to see that they are very common. For example, over here we can see a very common W, as we mentioned. We can see a double bottom formation, which means that we have already made the W and we continued onwards. Now we can see that it did retest, but it didn't retest the previous level. It retested a little bit lower before continuing upwards. So it literally did what a W formation is supposed to do. And the best part about W formations, you can spot them the moment they make a double bottom. Not always the double bottom will be exactly on the same level, but usually they will retest a very close to the previous level, sometimes even on the spot. And then when you do that and you see that the price starts going upwards, then you have a very good chance that this will be a W formation, which, as you can see, is quite lucrative and the price goes upwards. And even this retest of the middle part of the W is quite common, and it's a big probability that it will happen. So use these formations as much as you can when you spot them to practically give you an edge over the rest. Another very, very good W formation, as we can see over here, we have W with double bottom and even retest and continuing onwards. Literal school example. Yes, in this case, obviously the retest was a little bit lower than the middle part of the W, but still W formations were completely finished and continued exactly as it's supposed to be in, I would say, the previous examples that we had. Let's try to find another M formation for you to actually see how it looks like. For example, this can be a very nice M formation. Again, don't expect everything to be always perfect. In this case, obviously, the other one is not very close to the previous one, but we can see that it did the M formation as it's supposed to. So it's just a moment. So as we can see, the idea is that we have similar to the previous top, where we actually retested again. Sellers are starting to sell because this is very close to the previous top. They are taking profits, and the price goes down lower than the middle part of the M formation. And we can see over here, what do? Retest the middle part and again go downwards. Maybe not a lower low, but still formation more or less is successful. Now, these are things that I would advise you to use as much as possible. And again, never use them alone. Always try to use them in, I would say, combination with everything that we're going to be working on in our channel. Depends if it's obviously levels, depends indicators, some kind of formations that we are going to do. And don't forget, technical analysis without fundamental analysis is a big miss. So always pay attention to the fundamental analysis, because even if the technicals sometimes are saying that the chart should be going a certain way, fundamental analysis is very important, because sometimes news can take the chart in a completely opposite direction, even if the technical analysis tells you something else. So always pay attention to the whole picture. That's why on our channel, we are devising one special playlist where we teach you everything about technical analysis, which is half of the analysis that you need to do on a certain chart. And the other one is always the fundamental analysis. You need to follow everything that is going on with the project, with the market, etc., etc. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope to see you in the next video, which will be very interesting. We're going to do the tryouts for all that we have learned so far. We're going to use the M and W formations, triangle formations, accumulation, distribution, and levels to try to practically trade in a chart that we are going to cut. We are going to cut somewhere in the past, and we're going to try to use everything we learned so far to see how profitable we will be. I'll see you in the next video, and in the meantime, again, feel free to follow our Cryptoeconomics channel on YouTube and obviously our socials on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. We are going to be creating a lot more education, and we're hoping to see you on our journey onwards. Have a good day from the biggest channel for technical and fundamental analysis in Malta.